one can some. They mouth to some cacre was supreme. Yo, coffee, oh my, woman, oh money, mana. Also, one can some. They mouth to some cacre was supreme. Yo, coffee, oh my, woman, oh money, mana. Also, one can some. They mouth to some cacre was supreme.
It's a bad to live in a dirty environment. Malaria, cholera, and other preventable diseases come as a result of insanitary and unhygienic practices. We can give you free mosquito nets, free drugs, but trust me, Aya, you can still fall sick and die if you still live in a dirty environment. Be wise and stay clean, my people, cause prevention is better than cure. What I say?
Change your behavior. I say change your attitude. Change your behavior. I say change your attitude.
Everywhere they poo poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee-wee. Bola. Everywhere they poo poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee-wee. Bola.
Why the poo poo? Why the litter? Why the wee-wee? Bola, Africa. Why the poo poo? Why the litter? Why the wee-wee? Bola, Africa.
Somebody tell me what's going on.
Please, somebody tell me what's going on.
Somebody tell me what's going on.
Please, somebody tell me what's going on.
Somebody tell me what's going on.
Yes, he died basa, improper layout, inadequate ventilation. Single room, ni pedemono, yet to mankind. In your mafosu, dear, unu yen cover, no dear bocho. Is your top plus some cassia, come here by neuna mania. Toilet and bathrooms are converted into bedrooms. Now gutters, bushes, beaches, rivers are. Why with the boo boo? Say, so yeah, the sources of beer drinking water. Mr. President, members of parliament, no mind him for.
Good afternoon, Ghana. Welcome back again to Clean Ghana on Pan-African TV. My name is Ita Bobo. You can bear with me that we have two seasons in Ghana, the dry season and the rain season. Gone are the days when the rain season is about to set in, children become happy, myself become happy, because you know why? Some people yearn for some kind of foods. Some also, I don't know, as Amin even said, but today, honestly today, when it's about to rain, what runs through your mind? Tell me, what runs through your mind? Flooding, and you know that people are going to die out of it. Today we are going to have a discussion in the studio. My guest is already seated, and today we are going to have discuss flooding and its implication on public health. Stay tuned. We'll be back after the commercial break, and I will introduce my guest to you.
They mouth to some cacre was supreme. Yo, coffee, oh my, woman, oh money, mana. Also, one can some.
Today, we can trust sources of water anymore. Confidence is gone due to human activities. Same human activities introduces well-mechanized machines which purifies water. I bring to you ultimate natural mineral water. Deep from underground, tasty, well-purified and corporately packaged. Ultimate natural mineral water. Let's drink the new. For bulk, call 020-379-1888 or 0244-515-801. Ultimate natural mineral water. My water, your water, our water.
My people, it's a bad to live in a dirty environment. Malaria, cholera, and other preventable diseases come as a result of insanitary and unhygienic practices. We can give you free mosquito nets, free drugs, but trust me, Aya, you can still fall sick and die if you still live in a dirty environment. Be wise and stay clean, my people, cause prevention is better than cure. What me not say?
Change your behavior. I say change your attitude. Change your behavior. I say change your attitude.
Everywhere they poo poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee wee. Bola, bola, everywhere they poo poo, everywhere they litter, everywhere they wee wee. Bola, bola.
Why the poo-poo? Why the litter? Why the wee-wee? Bola, Africa. Why the poo-poo? Why the litter? Why the wee-wee? Bola, Africa.
Somebody tell me what's going on.
Please somebody tell me what's going on.
Welcome back. And my guest for today is Mr. Richard DONKOR. He is an environmental health practitioner, works in the Greater Accra region, Accra precisely. Welcome, Mr. DONKOR, to Clean Ghana, our environment, our health.
Thank you, sir.
How you doing?
It is well by His grace.
Very, very well.
Sure.
Mr. DONKOR, you can bear with me 2019. Anytime it rains, we record death. Today's discussion, we are going to relate it to public health. That is to your field. Can you tell us what is public health and what is flooding as well?
Thank you. A very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. Public health is the science that protects and promotes people and their communities. And in perspective, flooding is a massive water that overflows on a land that normally or naturally is supposed to be dried. So when you combine the two, they have certain bearings that they have on each other.
What are some of the bearings?
If you talk about bearings, I may want to look at it from this perspective. Does flooding have public health implications? The answer is yes, certainly. The reason being that when it floods, we lose our family members, we lose our friends, we lose our colleagues. That is, there is loss of life. There is damage, massive damage to properties. When you look at the agricultural department, there is loss of livestock. As you can bear with me, when there is massive flooding in farming areas as well, there is loss of crops and all that.
So many.
So if we want to list it, the list goes on and on.
Okay, Mr. DONKOR, what really constitutes flooding?
As a matter of fact, when we have excessive rainfall, it can result into flooding. Notwithstanding, that is not the only parameter that we can look at here. When our populace, that is in our communities, we decide not to abide by prudent waste management practices, and we decide to dispose of our refuse into the drains whenever it's raining, we are likely to have flooding, because at the end of the day, the refuse is not meant for the drainage system. So there will be a blockage, and as a result of that, there will be flooding.
As the former president said, he said the gutters or the drains are not dustbins.
Sure. It is also important to look at the sizes of our drains. Are they big enough to serve as storm drains? We may also look at the maintenance of the drainage system itself. Do we have to always wait for us to have devastating flooding, for people to lose their life, for people's property to be destroyed before we look at how best we can manage or maintain our drainage
Drainage
systems.
systems.
It's not the best. We need to have a holistic, and we need to have a very good plan that are always ahead of the floods. We must always be proactive. We need not to wait for the flooding to start its havoc before we react to it.
What are some of the causes again? Apart from you have mentioned waste management,
Sure.
improper waste management, and the sizes of the drains. What are some of the other causes?
Again, there is the need to construct more storm drains. For instance, if you look at Accra itself, geographically, Accra is a low-lying land. So when even it rains from the mountains, we are likely to have serious consequences here. Typically, if you look at places like Ashoma, Kwabinya, Taifa, Dome, through up to the Nkrumah Circle, you realize when it rains heavily on the mountains and just a little here, we have serious problems in the communities that I mentioned. We can also take, for instance, places like Dansoman. You can come through Flamingo area, through First Light, around Accra Academy. The whole of the area, whenever it rains, the whole place is in a mess. So we need to look at the type of drains we are constructing. We also need to look at the sizes of the storm drains vis-a-vis the capacity of water that may flow in and all that.
What is your take on the building on the waterway?
As a matter of fact, it has been a headache, a serious one. Because under normal circumstances, water must flow without any hindrance. But urbanization, which was supposed to have been a blessing, these days is becoming a caricature. It's becoming some sort of a demon to us. People are not supposed to build in certain places earmarked as waterways. And mind you, places that are earmarked for waterways, most of them, such places, even the water table over there is quite high. So the little water that will percolate into the earth, the place becomes super saturated. So at the end of the day, those that are building in such places may even have problems with their structures. So city planners, city authorities must be hard on such people so that it wouldn't have to result into flooding, which will eventually take the life of our dear ones, destroy properties, and other havoc that comes, as well as public health issues like water-related diseases that also comes as a result of flooding.
Okay, let's take what you said one after the other. Waste management. Whose duty is to ensure that the drains are free from waste?
First and foremost, I may want to believe that it is everybody's business. The populace. It is my responsibility to see to it that I don't dispose of my refuse in the drain. It is your responsibility to see to it that you don't do that as well. Secondly, it is also the responsibility of the assemblies to see to it that contractors that will demarcate certain areas for them to work up and doing. Because sometimes contractors may come for specific areas that they don't perform very well. So at the end of the day, the populace, out of ignorance, sometimes out of desperation, oh, if it's raining, then let me just sweep here and the rain will take care of it. But it is taking care of it from this place. You don't know where it will end and the havoc it will also create somewhere. So the populace, the assembly, and then urban rules, NADMO, and the rest must also come in to do more of education. We must all be proactive. We don't have to wait until there is a disaster before we start running here and there. We must always make sure that even though we can avoid it entirely, but we must be combat ready. We must be ever ready to see to it that we give information in time so that people wouldn't dispose their refuse in the rain. We must also make sure that the contractors also do their work well. And even if there will be the flooding, our hydro department must also be up and doing to give information so that people in specific areas that are low-lying will be able to leave the place, or the authorities may be able to evacuate them before the flooding will come in.
Okay, you are a public health officer or environmental health officer, as we may put it. Is it your duty to ensure that people don't litter on the street and in the drains and blah blah blah? And if people do litter, they don't take responsibilities as you have said, what do you do to them?
First and foremost, I want to emphasize the fact that the Environmental Health and Sanitation Directorate seriously frown on disposing refuse into drains and also littering the streets and stuff like that. The state has been grateful to have laws, legislations, and almost all the municipal assemblies. I mean, the MMDs, all of them, they have their bylaws that deals with such things. So for the environmental health officer, one, it is your duty to sensitize people on prudent waste management practices. And that involves source sorting. That also involves making sure that you have a dustbin with a fitting cover. That also implies you get a contractor that will come for your refuse either twice in a week or at least once in a week.
No, what I don't really understand is this. We have the officers, the environmental health officers, we have the MMDAs, the ministries there. But why is it that still the drains are filled with plastics, people litter on the street, the whole Accra, baller. That is what I don't understand. Is it that the laws are not working, or you, the environmental health officers, you are not doing your work, or what? What is the real problem?
Thank you. As a matter of fact, the environmental health officer is doing his part.
Sure.
Very well. Let me start by saying it's unfortunate if you look at our number and the population size, we are very small. Sure. We have a population close to 30 million, but the environmental health officer is around 4,500. Look at the population size in ratio to the officers. That is one. Two,
before you even go there, what is the ratio to an officer and the populace?
Quite huge. Very, very huge.
So what is the ratio now? What is the actual ratio?
Currently, I wouldn't be able to give you the figure of head, but it's quite huge.
Okay.
Notwithstanding, the environmental health officers are doing their bit in the sense that it is not like in the olden days, saman, where at a glance of a nuisance, you'll be giving court sermons and you are going to court. This time around, sensitization is going on. In fact, it's been going on for a very long time. It's kind of an issue of behavioral change. People need to change their behavior, and that is where we are now. On the other side of the coin, the environmental health officer, even though needs a lot of logistics to perform their duties, the logistics are not in. But whatever it takes the environmental health officer to defy all odds and do their work professionally, they are doing that. and I am proud to be an environmental health practitioner.
Okay. Since you're not engineer, we can't talk much about the construction of the drain.
Sure.
But what do you do to ensure that the drain is clean every day, so that the water can flow, since you are the public health officer?
You see, it is important for our communities to know that the drains are meant for water and not for solids. The drains are meant for storm water. People must have soakaways in their homes to take care of wastewater that is generated on their property. The public drains are meant for storm water. If people understand that, it will be very difficult for you to see our community members throwing their refuse in the drains, which at the end of the day will create problems for us and our neighbors and our family members and our friends. So we have done extensive education on that, although it is still ongoing. But I can tell you 100% that we have done extensive education on that. People are now adhering to our education. Notwithstanding, you know that in every community or society, you may have few bad nuts around. And those are the people that when we get hold of them, we process them for court, and the laws of the land will deal with them without fear or favor.
If you just tune in, we are discussing flooding and its implication on public health. Let's go for a quick commercial break, and we will continue our show.
So Bundia one can some they mafu to some kakre was supeme. Yo, coffee, oh my, ya woman, oh mani, ya mana. So Bundia one can some they mafu to some kakre was supeme. Yo, coffee, oh my, ya woman, oh mani, ya mana.
Today, we can trust sources of water anymore. Confidence is gone due to human activities. Same human activities introduces well-mechanized machines which purifies water. I bring to you ultimate natural mineral water. Deep from underground, tasty, well-purified and corporately packaged. Ultimate natural mineral water. Let's drink the new. For bulk, call 020-379-1888 or 0244-515-801. Ultimate natural mineral water. My water, your water, our water.
So Bundia one can some they mafu to some kakre was supeme. Coffee, oh my, ya woman, oh mani, ya mana. So Bundia one can some they mafu to some kakre was supeme. Yo, coffee, oh my, ya woman, oh mani, ya mana. So Bundia one can some they mafu to some kakre was supeme.
Welcome back, viewers. We are still on Clean Ghana, our environment, our health. Today's discussion is on flooding and its impact on public health. And I have here Mr. Richard DONKOR, and the discussion is on. Mr. DONKOR, can you tell us what we can do? Or, okay, no, let me put it this way. Can you tell us the effects of this flooding? I know we have mentioned some earlier, but just highlight on some of the effects for our viewers to really know what it takes.
All right. Just as I reiterated earlier on, the life of every human being is very paramount. It's important. And floods, if proper care is not taken, takes away our dear ones. That is loss of human life, which cannot be quantified with any sum of money. Life is precious. Life is a God-given asset to any living individual. Number two, I reiterated also that loss of property. When it's floods, you see the number of buildings that collapse, cars that are washed away, properties that are just washed away just like that. We can also think of crops and farm animals. We can think of infrastructure that though may be there, but as a result of the floods wouldn't work, like facilities like hospitals. If such places are flooded, it doesn't work. Places like schools, places like banks and all that. So infrastructures are also rendered useless because you can't find any use for such facilities. Not that alone, we may also have waterborne or water-related diseases that will also threaten the population. We may also talk about road networks that may be washed away. I mean, at the end of the day, if you quantify the cost, it's unbearable. So it calls for a proactive sort of solutions. We don't have to wait for it to, create problems for us before we start running scatter looking for solutions.
That is serious. It's a big, because always when it rains and people die, my heart bleeds.
Sure.
I don't even want to hear that, because 21st century, and when it rains in Ghana, people are dying. Oh my God. Serious. I can't even stand it. I even try to go on the social media, trying to tweet or Facebook to put something down for our people to just take care of themselves. But in some, can you really tell us what one must do to prevent himself from taken away by the flood?
Okay. In other jurisdictions that we've been to, the metro department is very active, and they are able to do a clean forecast that will be expecting the storm on this date. The quantum or the quantity will be quite huge, and as a result of that, those living along the shorelines must be evacuated and stuff like that. So first and foremost, I think and I believe the meteorological department of our country must be up and doing on that. I commend them. I've been following them. In fact, they've been excellent. But technology is becoming interesting. So I will encourage them to go for more gadgets so that they'll be able to give us information before ahead of time. Two, I also want to encourage city planners that communities are springing up by day. They must make sure that drainage systems and the communities come side by side. Because if you look at the number of houses here, the number of households here, you can determine the land size, the slope, the soil type, and as a result of that, know vis-a-vis the rainfall pattern and all those parameters to know the size of the drains, the gradients and all that, so that our drainage systems become up to standards, such that even though sometimes the retention period may be higher, but we may still be able to accommodate the rains. Number three, I may also want to reiterate the fact that people must stop disposing their refuse in the drains. It is a major issue that needs to be looked at. NADMO is doing excellent work, because where I am coming from, they are now doing house to house to sort of educate the people on prudent waste management practices. People must avoid disposing their refuse in the drain. And I commend NADMO so much. They are doing very well. On the other side of the coin, I would also want to encourage the community that if you know of places that they are disposing their refuse in the drains, please get the authorities informed so that they can see to such people. And then if the people are advised and they don't listen to the advice, then of course the laws of the land will deal with such people. So these are the few that if indeed we'll be able to put into practice, we'll be able to deal with the flooding issue that every now and then. I like the story that you gave, that not quite long ago, when it's about to rain, people are happy because you have a wonderful temperature that you can sleep and do other things, just like you said. Seasonal fruits may also come. It is around that time that you may have some snails, crabs, contomere, and all those
some
things.
Fresh vegetables.
But these days, what do we see? As soon as the clouds start forming, people are wailing because they know when it rains and it rains heavy, there is an issue.
It's a blessing. Now it's a case.
Sure. It's unfortunate.
Okay, let me ask you this. Last Monday, it rained. Kumasi recorded about 1 death and Accra 2. The president of Ghana went around with the engineers, and they are using coping strategies. Do you think the president can do more than the coping strategies?
I'm being honest with you. If you really want to look at flooding, the coping strategy is not the best.
Why not the best?
Why must we wait for a disaster before we act? We must always be proactive. We must be ahead of the disaster. So I think they are doing their best, but their best is not enough. There is more room for improvement. I want to believe the government can commit a lot more resources to that. Let me give you a scenario here.
Okay.
If as a result of the flood, I lose a relative, we have lost a human being. That human being was an asset to the country.
Sure.
2, you know, Africa, we love the deaf more than the alive. So look at the cost that it will come in terms of funeral and all that. You understand it? Let me also give you another one. If those that lost their property, those that were injured, those that were involved in an accident, the state commits resources to all those people. So it is prudent. In fact, wisdom will tell you that prevention is better than cure. So we must always be ahead of those things so that we don't wait there is disaster before we act. It's not the best.
It's not the best.
No.
So what advice, if the president of Ghana, you are a professional, that is the public health. So if the president should call you, that give us what you think can curtail the problem, what are you going to tell the president?
One will be construction of more storm drains. Because look at from Ashoma estate, through Kwabenya, through Taifa, through the Dome crossing, all the way through Circle before it will join the Odo. The storm drains are not big enough. So we need to make sure that we have enough storm drains. 2, we must make sure that if they are even enough, we dredge them, we desilt them before the rainy season sets in. We don't have to wait until people lose their life, properties are destroyed before we award contracts to, contractors to dredge or desilt the drains. It's not helping us. Again, I will encourage the government to allocate more resources to the environmental health officers so that they will be able to intensify their sensitization. I would also want to see a very vibrant NADMO that they can also do their work very well, because we need not to sit down for disaster to come before we call on NADMO. No, we must resource them, we must equip them very well, that they will be able to work with other stakeholders such that they can prevent some of these loss of lives and then destruction of properties, rendering infrastructures useless and all that.
In the way forward, I'm thinking that the laws are not working. The laws of Ghana are not working. The only law that works, as somebody will say, is the public latrine, where you see the woman and the man. So nobody goes or nobody interferes with the said room. Honestly, building on the, how do we call it, on the waterway. You see, now come to Accra, come to go to South Makati and all those the Ramsia site. That is where the water or the storm water has to settle. All have been built, and there is the same assembly that gives permit to the said people to go and build. So where are the laws?
The laws are working, but they are not working to perfection. They are working in the sense that some of such places, they have rezoned the areas. Else the assembly will not issue permit for construction. But my point here is the fact that those departments that rezone such places, the laws of the land must take hold of them and deal with them accordingly. The reason being that places that has been earmarked for waterways, places that has been earmarked as area where the water table is high, that people are not supposed to build, they build in the night. Okay? And then because some of the areas has been redesigned, the laws must work on the drains and the roads that are supposed to be constructed. Because if you redesign an area that used to be water lock area that people can build, then of course you must make sure that you take into consideration the drainage system of the area. You understand it? That is where, unfortunately, I think, I can't speak for other departments, but this is where I think they are lacking. It's unfortunate, but it's high time authorities look at those things. Areas that some time ago were demarcated or were earmarked as waterways must, and I repeat, must remain waterways.
So do you agree with me that all those houses built on the waterway should be demolished? I
agree with you.
Instead of every day we should encounter casualties.
In fact, I agree with you that such properties must be demolished by the state. And then officials that help them to do that must also be taken on, so that it will serve as a deterrent to all of us. The fact that you are a public officer doesn't give you the mandate to do whatever you want. We are to make sure we subject ourselves to the laws before we can apply the laws.
Okay, so
it is important.
Which means the laws are there, the laws are working, but the people or the law enforcers are not really working. Okay, viewers, let's go for a quick commercial break and we'll continue from there.
Today, we can trust sources of water anymore. Confidence is gone due to human activities. Same human activities introduces well-mechanized machines which purifies water. I bring to you ultimate natural mineral water. Deep from underground, tasty, well purified and corporately packaged. Ultimate natural mineral water. Let's drink the new. For bulk, call 020-379-1888 or 0244-515-801. Ultimate natural mineral water. My water, your water, our water.
Welcome back, viewers. This is Pan-African TV, and we are still running Clean Ghana on the show. Keep your text, let them flow. Your WhatsApp messages, let them flow, and we are going to read it for you. Mr. Donkor, we were talking about the ratio of the environmental health to the populace. I think somebody brought up an idea, and we are going to read it to the public. Okay. This is from Michael. Michael is saying that. Hi, this is Michael. Okay, the ratio by WHO, that is the standard, sure, is 1 environmental is to 700 people.
Sure.
So the ratio now is 1 is to 6,666.
Too huge.
So now Ghana needs about 42,857 officers to meet WHO standard.
Sure.
That is very serious.
It's quite alarming. You know, if you look at the population size and you look at the population of the environmental health officer, you can deduce that the load on each environmental health officer is unbearable. Per the World Health Organization standards, each an environmental health officer is supposed to take care of not more than 700 people. But in our case, currently, the number is close to 7,000, which is way, about 100%. So I will encourage the government that environmental health practitioners that has completed either Whole School of Hygiene, Accra School of Hygiene, Tamale School of Hygiene, government should facilitate as soon as possible so that we bring them on board to come and help to do massive education, not on flooding alone, but environmental sanitation as a whole.
Okay. This message is coming from Shaibu Seidu from Akimoda. My question is the environmental health officer a law enforcer, and who is qualified to prosecute sanitary offenders in Ghana?
The environmental health officer wears many hats. But the most important hat that he wears is sensitization, in quote, health education. Notwithstanding, recalcitrant community members who don't want to be encouraged to change their behavior, we have the power to prosecute them. So the environmental health officer does health education and prosecution as well.
Okay, this one didn't mention the name. He said, how do you manage the rich people who have built on the waterway?
We have laws of the land that protect the waterways, irrespective of your richness. The law is the law and must deal with everybody equally. Before the law, we must all be equal. So if you are rich, if you are poor, if you flout the laws must deal with you. If you are a rich man and you have constructed your mansion on a waterway,
you are not above the law.
You are not above the law. And the law must deal with you. We should
break it down.
We must pull it down.
Okay, this is from Senior Adoso. He said, better environmental sanitation can only be achieved if the populace of Ghana have agreed to change their attitude and take responsibility. Do you agree to that?
Excellent.
But do you think people will be ready to change their attitude?
See, that is the reason why the environmental health officer is doing sensitization alongside enforcing the law. We have to encourage people to know the effect in terms of the negativity of their actions on their lives, on their health, that of their relations, and the whole community. And if they get to know the negative impact of their activities, some will change. Those that don't want to change will use the law to change them.
That is good. This is coming from Kojo Kunedu. They say, kudos, we are doing well. I think sanitary laws must be enforced vigorously and environmental health officers must be resourced rather than the mere politics. The needed resources are not available to them. Let's not forget environmental health officers are not magicians to make things happen. And also on the waterways, who gives or who grants permit to them to build?
Thank you so much. You have given us a lot of encouragement. We will still do our best. In terms of those who give the permit, that one, it is the assembly. Even it is not just one person. There is a committee at the assembly that sits and decides that. Unfortunately, no assembly will look at a place that has been earmarked as waterway and will issue permit. But there are officers of the assembly that does that.
The officers of the assembly are the assembly. They represent the assembly. So if they give, automatically it's the assembly who has given the permit.
No. And no means no here. The fact, in fact, the truth of the issue is that the assembly wouldn't give permit to people who are constructing their buildings or their properties in waterways. There are few bad nuts in the assembly that perhaps does those things. You understand it? Because the assembly knows the implication of giving a permit. And if you give a permit for somebody to construct a building at a place that you know that person shouldn't have constructed that building, the laws of the land will deal with you. And moreover, if that building needs to be pulled down, that developer can sue you. So the assembly wouldn't do it. But just as I said earlier on, you have few bad nuts among us that does those things.
Maybe they go beyond the back end, blah, blah, blah. Something goes on there, so, I can't. Okay, this is from Mrs. Fulera Ishon. They said, I think the environmental health issues in Ghana is lack of attention and recognition given to the environmental practitioners in the country. Do you agree? I
agree to that assertion. Let me say this on a mild side. The former president, John Ajikum Kufuor, once said he will bring back the Saman Saman. Already, the tankers man is in existence. It's just that this time around, he lacks logistics to fully operate. It's just that this time around, the environmental health officer has been trained and is encouraged to sensitize people to desist from their behavior that is counterproductive, rather than just at a scene of a nuisance, you give sermons that the person should go to court and pay a fine. If the person doesn't really understand and also appreciate the need not to do what you are saying, they will go back and come and do the same thing.
Why do you think the president said he's going to bring back Saman Saman?
I must be honest with you. I think then the president didn't know that the environmental health officer was the olden day Saman Saman. That is my view.
And do you know my view?
No.
My view is this. Back in the days, the environmental health, the Saman Saman, what they do is to arrest, is to summon the people. And for now, I think you people are not arresting the people. So once you're not arresting the people, then he has to bring back the people who are responsible for arresting the people, because all our places are filthy. You know, so I think we should go back to the law. I believe that the law will strongly work then, because listen, me sitting here, I know what is right, but am I prepared to do what is right? No. I know that I don't have to later. But hey, who cares? When I later, nobody takes me on, so I will continue to later.
The law is working.
Let's bring back in Saman. If you are working, then I want to see you taking action. I want to see you taking people to court. That is what we can feel. So that when anybody sees the environmental health officer coming, they can run, or they can, you know, as they used to do. I remember one time when I was a kid though, then Saman man was coming, and you know, we have the pot.
Yeah, the potty.
Then I was doing the thing inside. My mother carried me and
the potty away.
You dare not. So let's bring back the Saman Saman. I agree strongly that when we bring back the Saman Saman, I think people are going to change their behavior.
The Saman Saman is already there. But this time around, the Saman Saman is doing more of sensitization alongside the prosecution.
Okay.
I agree with you that we need to do more prosecution. In fact, various MMDAs have the Department of Environmental Health and Sanitation units in the various assemblies. They are doing both the sensitization and the prosecution. The missing link here is the community is becoming larger and larger. There are places when they do such activities, the media comes to cover it. So media coverage is important in this direction. Most of the assemblies are doing it. We will plead with the media houses to help the environmental health officers by publishing some of these stories, so that people will know we are in and we are working, and for that matter, people will be deterred from practicing crew dumping and all that. So the media must also play its part to help the environmental health officer.
Mr. Richard Donkor, thanks a lot for showing up, and we are grateful to have you on the show. And I believe maybe once of the time we are going to let you pass through, because I like your conversation. Viewers, as you know, it is your duty. It is not only the duty of the government or the environmental health officer. It is our responsibility. It is my responsibility not to litter, not to dump. Some people, when it's about to rain, then they will pack up all their, refuse and dump it into the drain. And this thing will come back to your house. Garbage in, garbage out. It will surely come back to you. Stop the attitude. For me, I am trying to let them, Saman come back, for them to arrest you. Because, we can't let this, our country, go filthy like that. the show will be on. We have so many episodes to come up. Next week, we are going to have market sanitation and food hygiene. We are going to look at what goes into the market. I mean, how hygienic is the marketplace? How safe is the food that we buy from the market? And on we go. I think I must recommend the Nsamai people or the environmental health people. They are doing great, but their number is very, very, very few. So the government should employ those people staying at home so that they can also continue the good work of Ghana. At the end of the day, they work for the government. So we will plead with you, Mr. President, the ministry, whatever it takes for you to employ. And even I can recommend that they should build more schools so that we can have more environmental health practitioners in the sector, so that they can really, because they are doing a lot. Starting from this, my program, I mean, they are into food hygiene, pest control, fumigation, waste management. They are doing a lot. We will be back next week, and the show is on. My name is Ita Bobo, your host.
Some kakre wa supeme.